Welcome to this week's End of Days Update, coming to you from Tulsa, Oklahoma. We had such a great time last week in Fort Worth there with Joseph Roberts' Generations End Time event. We had so much fun. And then we went on to Hattiesburg, had a great time there at Victory Church. We were there Sunday and Monday. And if you can, this weekend we'll be in Montgomery, Alabama at Harvest Family Church Sunday and Monday. Come and hear the Word. It's neat to see people come from long distances to hear the Word. It's good to see that hunger again. We used to wait out in the rain and in the sleet to hear Kenneth Hagin's meetings, and people would run and get a seat. I believe it'll get back to that. That hunger will come back to people so they want to hear the Word more. So it's wonderful to see that. So we're coming to you every week to look at the different things that point to and blatantly show us that the King, Jesus, is just about to come. You got things happening every single week. So we know that the rapture is signless, but the second coming has tons of signs. So you got to kind of back 7 years off of that and know how close we are to departing the earth. I mean, what a time to be talking about things that point to the coming of the Lord like this. I had a friend I was talking to today, and he said, man, when you started the EDU, you saw all these players come together, and now they're literally where they're supposed to be. 15 years have gone by. And exactly what the Bible said you'd see right before Jesus comes is happening every week and getting stronger and stronger and more intense. I mean, it's just been amazing. So we get into this because the Lord loves you. He wants to bless you. He wants to strengthen you. He even said, when you see these things come to pass, lift up your heads. Your redemption draws nigh. So He's not mad at you. He's not frustrated with you. He loves you. He wants you excited. He doesn't want you downtrodden. I think it seems like every end-time conference we do, a woman will walk up to me at the end of the service crying and go, I've been lied to my entire life. I was told this is a scary thing. So no, it's an exciting thing. And we get into this, it's all about acceleration. You see the finish line, you run faster. I've never seen a runner look at the finish line and go, what in the world is that? No, all the training involved, especially after seeing the Olympics, you could see how important it is, that last lap, that last portion of the race. So very intense. I compared it to in a football game when you got a few minutes left, a few seconds left on your play clock, and the quarterback's dinking around. I'm screaming at the TV, going, pay attention to the clock. Because if you're not looking at the clock, you won't hustle. So that's why we do this. It's not about escaping. It's about doing what we're all called to do in a very short period of time. So literally, we're living in Bible days. Remember in the Old Testament, the Bible says that we had a tribe called the tribe of Issachar, out of the 12 tribes, that had an understanding of the times to know what the children of Israel ought to do, indicating if you don't know what time it is, you won't know what you should do. Just like at the beginning of any game or any race, you can kind of dink around, but man, when it comes to the end, you can't dink around anymore. So things have happened this last week that are just monumental. And the whole talk is Iran going to hit Israel? Is Iran going to hit Israel? Is Iran going to retaliate against Israel's taking out the head of Hamas? In the midst of Iran saying if there's a ceasefire, they won't hit. And then Hamas didn't even send a delegation over to Qatar to even talk with. Man, you talk about the verbiage of it. You had the chief of the Mossad. You had Israel's spy chief, Egypt's spy chief, America's head of the CIA. All these people were there to try to get a ceasefire, and Hamas doesn't even show up. Now, they don't mention that every single time Israel's ready to have a ceasefire and Hamas turns it down. It's remarkable what's happening in Israel right now. You had Hamas firing missiles from a hospital dressed in civilian clothing, not in military clothing, thinking that Israel wouldn't be able to get them. And over and over and over again, Israel's having to systematically take these people out. So you still got missiles and rockets firing from Gaza when you think all that would have been shut down by now. But continually, which is hard to get into all of them, you have missiles firing from Hezbollah. So the concern is this week, the whole world is talking about this, about Hezbollah and Iran attacking Israel in a big way. To the point, you've got the U.S., you've got the U.K., you've got Germany, you've got Italy, you've got France telling the president of Iran, don't strike Israel like this. Because remember, the last time Iran did its own strikes. Now, what Iran's done is systematically surround Israel. People don't talk about that. You have Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis completely surrounding Israel, and that's totally through Iran. So with all the talk of this whole global event, Iran don't hit Israel, and in April when Iran did, Israel took out 99% of the missiles and the projectiles that were coming toward itself. So with the Iron Dome, with David's slingshot, and with the Arrow missile defense system, so remarkable to have that kind of percentage. But what helped was the U.S. and some of their airplanes and aircraft were helping and assisting in that. So right now, you have America, which before this last week did almost an arms embargo, keeping arms from Israel. This week, they agreed to $20 billion worth of arms sales to Israel. And we sent a whole squadron of F-22s, another squadron of F-18s that would be, usually they were carrier-based, but they're going to be land-based. And then you had America speeding up the USS Abraham Lincoln battle group, which is an aircraft carrier, huge aircraft carrier, and the Theodore Roosevelt's there right now. So you've got them systematically going to be parked right off the coast of Israel, along with a new a submarine, a ballistic missile submarine called the USS Georgia. So they carry 154 Tomahawk missiles. That's just one style of missiles that they carry. So you've got America kind of showing its force. Last time they didn't do that. They kind of stayed in the background. Well, this time they're staying in the forefront to try to keep Iran from doing this. So in the middle of all of this talk about Iran ballistically going at Israel, you had them talk about a brand new detonator they have for a nuclear weapon. This came out today, that Iran's testing this new detonator, because even if they get enough enriched uranium, they still have to have their detonators correct. Well, it looks like there was page after page after page of all this information about detonators that Iran's doing. So, man, it's heating up for a battle of all battles, and it's really a setup for the Ezekiel 38 war, when you have Russia and the Ukraine doing what they were doing. And you had China this last week. Listen to this. China this last week said, well, they're for Iran. They said Iran has to systematically defend themselves from Israel. No, Israel's the one that's being attacked by Iran. That's a satanic and a psychotic thought pattern. You had flash floods overseas. You had earthquakes in Jordan and Syria. You had an earthquake in Los Angeles. You have a real uptick in the solar flares off the sun. You've got asteroid things coming out. So you got signs in the heavens. You got nations coming together, exactly what the Bible said they would do, specifically Iran getting ready for Russia to help it and Turkey to help it. Turkey did a bunch of stuff this last week. I read about 15 things about Turkey, and I just shook my head and go, there's no way to even get all this in the EDU, but everybody's doing everything they're supposed to do because Jesus is just about to come. Man, so what do? We help our local church, help our local pastor. We get involved. We don't fit church into our life. It is our life. This is it. I hear so many people go, well, all these signs have happened before. No, they've never happened like this before. This is amazing. We're so blessed. So we always go back to it. Now, there's tons of things that I'm probably forgetting, but they're all remarkable, pointing to the Temple Mount having a visitor, and that visitor is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. So we're excited that we get to see that. So we go to the Scripture. We always go to the Word. Number one, Israel made a nation. Number two, Jerusalem won back. Jesus said the group that sees that won't pass away till all is fulfilled. Then you got the Hebrew language restored, Ethiopian Jews brought back. You got the fertility of the land of Israel. You got the revival of the Roman Empire. You have 170 different species of predatory birds. You got the cleanup crew in Israel there. Foxes on the Temple Mount. Fish in the Dead Sea. You had the Dead Sea turn blood red where Sodom and Gomorrah was last year on the Day of Atonement. Remarkable. You have the ritual baths around the Temple Mount fill up with water first time in 2,000 years. You have men will be lovers of themselves. We have selfie sticks. I've never been around a time where guys would use 2 different cameras to take pictures of themselves. How weird is that? But that's the day we live right now. So many, many signs. I think of Rabbi Yitzhak Kadura, Jesus appearing to him and him prophesying that Israel will be ruled by 2 Benjamins just before the coming of the Lord. I mean, you had Benjamin Netanyahu and Benjamin Gallant. And it's weird this week seeing the Israeli defense ministers come against Israel publicly. I was kind of freaked out about that in the midst of them fighting for their lives. So you have all these signs, though, remarkable sign after sign after sign after sign. It's about 80 some odd signs. You have Russia rebuilt the archway for Baal worship in Palmyra. That's where the Tower of Babel was. The Talmud says that's the last sign you'll see right before the Messiah comes. You had in the closing of the Olympics a couple of nights ago, basically the Antichrist coming down over a depleted world that was destroyed, where the Antichrist it was Lucifer. It was a walking Lucifer right there. Absolutely insane. So you have all this stuff coming together because Jesus is just about to come back. Sign after sign. I really like the Tower of Babel deal with the head of the EU, their Capitol building being in Strasbourg, France, when it's fragmented at the top. And their verbiage is, we don't need God, we'll be our own gods. That alone is pretty wild. So all these physical signs that point to his return, and then animals all in position point to his return. Then you have heavenly signals. You got signals pointing out. You had blood red moons a few years ago on Passover and Tabernacles. Remarkable. What's Passover? That's when he died for us. Tabernacles is when he's going to come back and tabernacle with men. So the heavens are going, I died for you, coming back. Died for you, coming back. 4 in a row. When's the last time you had 4 in a row on Passover and Tabernacle? So this is NASA calling it a tetrad. Last time was 1967 when Jerusalem was won back. In 1948 when Israel was made a nation. In 1492, at the Edict of Expulsion, when the Jews were kicked out of Spain, God raised up Columbus to sail the ocean blue in 1492, and he founded a land called America, being the safe harbor for the Jews. So you had signals that the Lord's about here. And then after that, you had the Bethlehem star. Man, when Jesus was born, you had Jupiter, a king planet, Regulus, a king planet. Then you had Venus, men are from Mars, women from Venus. All three of those planets came together at the birth of Jesus. The constellation was Virgo, born of a virgin, Mary. And then this last year, you have a celestial event, Jupiter, Regulus, Venus coming back together again. The constellation this time was Leo. He's the Lion of the tribe of Judah. So our King came and died. God raised him from the dead. Use your authority. Be bold about what Jesus left you. He said, all authority has been given unto me, and he handed it straight off to the church. So we've got to be bold. He said, whatever we refuse to allow, he would refuse to allow it. So as we approach the coming of Jesus to the planet, pray for your nation, pray for your leaders, pray for your pastors, pray for those who are in charge of these nations. Because right now, nations are systematically moving into place for Jesus to come back to the earth. Exciting for the church. This is it. We run faster, go ballistic, shout to the rooftops, Jesus is just about to come back. I thought right now, here before the coming of the Lord, people would be a little bit more excited, but there is a group of people that are. So let's go for it. Let's do the will of God and let's do his bidding. We'll come back this next week and we'll see if Israel, right as we shoot now, there may be an explosion going off because you might have Iran doing something really stupid trying to mess with Israel. So the whole talk this whole week was that itself. So we'll come back next week and see what's transpired. Have a blessed, wonderful week. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Thanks for joining us today at the End of Days Update. If you'd like to be notified every time there's a new post, just go to the edu at josephmorris.com and subscribe to receive email alerts. If these posts and updates have been a blessing to you, please consider making a one-time donation to help get the message out, or even becoming a monthly partner with Joseph Morris Ministries. Thanks again for tuning in to the EDU, and we'll see you next week.